I feel like if you lead with that energy and that attitude, then you kind of can quell all the doubts about how the connection works.
Mm-hmm.
Like I decided to lead with that's my child now. So yeah.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. Said something about having friendships of brothers who are also good fathers, and that takes me to the bro code.
Okay.
This bro code, I've been waiting to talk to somebody about.
All right. I don't even know what this is. Like if
I
they
don't know
rewrote the
what it
book.
is either, but listen to what I'll say to you. Here's why I bring up the bro code. When I was, I'm going to tell you a snippet of my life when I started to get a reality check as to what I was getting myself into on so many different levels, not just parenting. A friend of mine, male friend of mine, ran into my child's father while I was pregnant, maybe 6 months pregnant. I don't know. And he was privy to certain information, right? So when he saw him finally at this little thing, I'm not sure what it was, something social. They're playing pool and, chewing the fat. And when he comes back to me the next day, he's like, I saw so-and-so, and we were doing these things. And I said, well, did you check him? Did you ask him? And I could be out of line, who knows? Because women, we would get in somebody's business and take care of our girl in a second.
Yeah.
And so I said, did you ask him like what his intentions were? Is he gonna do better? Like, did you look out for me? Is what I'm asking him. Did you look out for me? And his response was, well, that goes against the bro code. And so I was like, that's why I was like, what is the bro code? What is this about? Because I'm thinking it's about our friendship. But I guess the bro code overrides what me and him had going on as friendship goes, and then he can't speak to another man about his situation.
Okay.
And so when you were talking about you and your friends holding each other accountable, and you would even have a guy in your circle who was not a good dad, it makes me happy to hear that somebody's out here doing something different. I feel like not enough men hold each other accountable when it comes to these things, because of the bro code says something like, that's that man's business. I can't get into that. He has to handle that. I can't speak on it for the most part.
Okay. No, I agree a little bit. I don't want to say I'm different. I'm probably not gonna be all up in somebody's business about like their life. However, what I'm not, like, it goes back to my original point that I'm not going to surround myself with people who are deadbeat dads. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even have that person as a friend to associate to check, which is, it may be bad. That may be bad. Like it may be someone from my past with whom I've had I had this great relationship with, and I find out they're not taking care of their babies, I cut them off.
No conversation.
None. If I know about it, none. And which is why, like, I can say whole, like with pretty much, like, with full confidence, my circle of male friends, people I went to school with, went to college with, high school with, they're out here doing everything they can to raise their kids right. Mm-hmm. And that's that was the thing I wanted to be around. That was the thing I grew up around too. I grew up around other good dads, like kids who played ball with me, even though my dad was the coach, those kids' dads were in the stands too. You know, they were the they were the assistant coaches,
Mm-hmm.
or they were the, you know, they were the what was it, the backseat drivers, the Monday morning quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was dad central, because everybody wanted to come see their kids play.
Mm.
And I think I don't know, man. Like that's a toughie, honestly. And it's because I've never been in it.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
because like I don't associate, like I tried my best to not associate with that.
from my perspective when that happened, and maybe because I was pregnant, it really upset me. And
Hmm.
he and I were not the same after that.
But the thing is too, man, you know, like again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about men not really handling their feelings well. And you talk about two dudes getting into a conversation about their feelings about something like this, we're generally not equipped, even in our adult manhood, not
Mhm.
equipped to deal with our emotions and feelings in that sort of way. So it probably didn't even, it probably crossed his mind,
Mhm.
but then he thought about how uncomfortable that situation would have been. he
That
thought
sounds
about
stressful.
he thought about the possibility of the friendship ending too, which is real. Like he sacrificed one for the other.
Mhm.
You know, like if your relationship changed, he definitely, like, I
No,
don't
I
want to say
changed it.
it wasn't
I
good,
changed it because
but I mean, but I think you kind of had to, because that's where you were. Like you kind of, you needed to know, and you needed someone to let you in on it. Like let me get a glimpse in the window, and he didn't do it. He couldn't do it. And like I said, I don't know. I don't even know if I could. That is uncomfortable. I'm
it's
not gonna
very
lie about it.
uncomfortable. It
And
is.
it requires a level of bravery that a lot of men don't have,
Mhm.
especially with dealing with emotional issues like this. You
Mhm.
know, especially, and it has, I don't think it has anything to do with like that man's business or anything like that. I think it's, yeah, I think it's more about, not wanting to confront,
Mhm.
you know, the ugly issues.
Here's what I'll say about, for a woman like myself who did not grow up with a dad, and up until that point, I was still in feel like men had let me down.
Hmm.
But it's not men have let me down, although I could name a few. It really still goes back to my dad,
Hmm.
to where you could have fought harder for me, right?
Yeah.
And so every time that happens, something like that happens, it just
Hmm.
reminds me that men don't stick around. But the story, now this is, none of this may be true. I'm just talking about the stories that were in my head at the time.
So I
Men don't
got you.
stick around. They don't look out for you. They don't protect you. They are more interested in protecting themselves,
Hmm.
um, than the woman they're with or their friendship or whatever. Men are not to be trusted. These are the things that I feel like a lot of women have to battle with in their heads,
Oh yeah,
because of
for sure.
something very simple like that can trick, by him not saying something, whatever that something could have been. Didn't have to be confrontational, just something like,
No.
get your shit together. I don't know
Right.
what it could have been, but um, because we have to be more community minded.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I want to do this, I'm doing this show, is because I really want us as a community, especially Black community, to understand that we need 2-parent households.
For sure.
And in order to give our children any sort of chance of making it to wherever making it is
Hmm.
for that particular family. And I don't think we take it seriously enough, and being uncomfortable, to me, I'm okay with you being uncomfortable if it means that you can save a household. You know what I mean?
Word. Word. I can get with that
Um,
for sure.
and so my mindset these days is to really concentrate on how can I help to shine a light on, not on fatherhood, but in efforts of in shining a light on fatherhood, I would like for it to trickle into fathers understanding how important they are, and
Hmm.
mothers, women understanding how important fathers are. Not all the way down to how we choose our partners, how we
Yeah.
choose who we're going to uh, parent with, take it more seriously. Because like I said, when I talked to you 8-9 years ago,
Mhm.
I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have.
I didn't
So,
know either.
and so now that I'm here, I feel like it's my responsibility to pass along that information, because I was a single parent for a while, just me and my son, and now I'm married, but just having that dynamic is different too.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation. So now we have someone in the household, but we still have to, now we have to co-parent.
Yeah.
And I think co-parenting has been glorified, and that's not the goal.
No, I don't think so either. It can work, but
It can work.
what it requires mature, like two mature people coming together, and coming together with the love of the child kind of leading the way, and then saying, okay, well, we're going to be responsible, and all this,
and make the best out of it. Yeah.
Whatever needs to happen in order for this child to have what they need to be successful in life, like, let's do that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that sacrifice, like what I just described there, sacrifice, like that part right there is the part that a lot of people don't want to sign up for.
Like, listen, however bad you think parenting is, I feel like co-parenting has to be harder, because now you have to coordinate times. And I'm going to tell you the honest truth. For my son to leave our household to go do what his dad wants him to do for that weekend, it has become an inconvenience, because we have things that we want to be doing. We're on a routine. We moving and we shaking. We got things to do. And so it's really has become an inconvenience to try to schedule him in. This is the complete honest truth. Now that I'm married and he has his bonus dad and all these things, this train is moving right along.
Yeah.
So to insert you when you feel like you want to be inserted, now I have to, plan that stuff in and figure out a loophole somewhere, because I don't want anybody to think that it's not important that he sees his dad, because I feel it is important that he sees his dad, which is why I jump through the hoops to make sure he does. But it has really become an inconvenience.
No, that makes perfect sense. Like the way you described that makes perfect sense. Regardless of what the parenting, the parenting situation looks like, I think that's just what we sign up for when we have kids. Like they can't do the things without us. Like I know Jabril can't, like if I wasn't here, Jabril can't call me without his mom, making the call.
I'm so glad I'm past that stage. Yes.
He can't do that. So there's like, and that's just a small thing. But I think about that and I'm like, it's better that I'm here. Which goes back to kind of like my original thought is that, don't leave. It'll be better that you're there, but it's better, I think, in general, if the biological father is there. I
totally agree.
And it's one of those things where it's like I want brothers to do better and do something, do fun stuff with them, do something enriching with them, teach them how to build, teach them, teach them skills that can help their life. Things can be consistent, then the inconvenience goes.
And that's why it's more of an inconvenience for me, because it's not consistent.
Probably in my 20s. Yeah. Somewhere in my late 20s, I think, is when I knew for sure. I think I always wanted to be a dad, because I was like, my dad's a dad and he's great.
Exactly.
But I think in terms of, understanding the responsibility behind it and all that, I didn't really have that perspective. So I had more when I was in my late 20s. I was like, yeah, that's something I do. I think I'd be good at it. Let's rock with that.
You are right. You're doing good.
Thank you. I think so too.
How would you grade yourself? A, B, C, D, F? Oh, whatever scale you want to use.
I think because like I said, I got a 25-year-old, so like she's like a whole grown person. I would probably give myself a C. Like I feel like there were things I did really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also feel like there were things that like there were areas that I needed to have more personal growth that I didn't have at the time
Mm-hmm.
that I have now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I would probably, just because I grade myself, like people are their hardest critics. Like I would give myself a B with Jabril. Like I don't, I feel like I'm doing a good job with him. I feel like some of the stuff that I don't want to say I screwed up before, but some of the mistakes I made, like I've righted those things. I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely more mature, so I've improved, let's say.
And you know what? One of the things I
Mhm.
tell myself is my son's going to tell this story. I get to now decide how my story gets told.
Yep. Yep.
I'm mindful, like, don't be doing crazy stuff. Not that I have it, and I'm sure he'll have a version of whatever story he will tell later.
Hmm.
I did the best I could. We have two children, one biological, one not biological. I feel like in my heart, because I have a couple kids who are not biologically mine, right? Some of them, couple of godchildren, and just some like nephews who really feel like my sons. You
Right.
met Kendrick, right?
Yeah.
And I just knew that was like a parenting kind of, that's it, right? And even Kendrick lived with me for a little while, whatever. But when I had my son, nothing compared to that.
No.
And I always wondered, like, when you love all the children, I'm sure,
Mhm.
but it's still like because you, and I'll say this too before I get into that. When I see my son, I see me in him.
Mhm.
And so certain things that he does, I completely get because it's me.
Yeah.
And I would think that for like my husband who's parenting my son, I feel like he would have a better understanding, but because it's not biologically his son, is there certain things he's not going to understand, I feel. But you have to tell me, because I haven't been in your shoes, like, is that a true assessment I'm making? Or as far as the understanding of your son, maybe even a deeper connection, because this is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So when even certain things, like I've seen children, like my nephew, he loves NASCAR. This
Mhm.
boy did not grow up in a NASCAR family. That's not us. But his dad, who he does not really know, is a NASCAR lover.
Wow.
So genetically, some kind of
He just got
way,
it.
he just got it. He loves
Mhm.
NASCAR. So those kind of things, like, we don't understand NASCAR. But if his dad was around, they can chop it up.
David Shaw, yeah. I think there's a little bit of truth to that. I met Naila, she was young. She was 6. I do feel like I see some of me in her, like just from being around somebody so much, you just get some of them. And I think that's what happened. Um, but I don't think I've ever felt anything other than this is my child.
Yeah.
Like once, and I think that's the thing too, is I feel like if you lead with that energy and that attitude, then you kind of can quell all the doubts about how the connection works.
Mm-hmm.
Like I decided to lead with well, that's my child now, so I'm responsible, and I'll do what's necessary. I'll do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll provide. I'll provide. I'll love. I'll comfort. I'll protect. I'll do those things, and this is where, like, when I'll go back into the grading system a little bit. These are areas where, like, those are kind of the things that I look at and I go, like, did you really do your best there? Did you really do your best there? Like, what's up, man? And then it, like, and I was the only child, so the thing about so that's something that me and her shared for a long time, was our only childhoodness. And and we grew up together. Like, I don't think it ever got out of my system until I knew Jabril was coming. Like, it didn't fully get out of my system. So that was one of those things where I say, like, man, you probably could have done better there. I was just so used to having everything, like everything was mine. So it'd be simple things would happen. Like, one day I used to love there's a company in New York called Intimates, and they sell products here in Publix, and they sell like donuts and cookies and stuff. And I used to get these crumb top donuts, and I used to love them. I would just eat like a whole freaking box of donuts with milk. I mean, I don't understand why I'm not like 80, 100 pounds. But one day she was like, "Can I have one?" And I gave her one, and she was like, "Oh, these are good." And she started loving them. And then, when she got older and had her own money, she would come home and she would have them, but I couldn't have any. And I'd be like, "Bruh, what's that about?" And like that was my thing. And now it's your thing. It's not our thing, no,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
both because we're only children. So it's like it's just there's weirdness in that. But
Mhm.
I do, I think when it really got into me that I was like, I'm gonna be responsible, I'm gonna love, I'm gonna parent, I'm gonna
Mhm.
protect, um and I'm gonna lead with, that's my child now.
Yeah.
Like that, when that became my energy, I believe, I think that's when the connection really started.
Good, good, good.
you
So
know
that's some great advice for bonus dads or stepdads, that
yeah,
to make that decision early.
yeah, like,
That's why I used to turn bonus dad too and not stepdad, just to try to help to
yeah.
create that
Nah, I
energy.
mean, I got you. I like bonus dad. I like being bonus dad too, or just being dad, like whatever
Yeah,
she
yeah.
wants to, however she wants to frame it. But like I do believe it's important to, like, yeah, to make the decision early.
Well, I gotta mention DMX
Yeah,
because I know that you and I both are. I think we're DMX fans, right?
I'm a huge DMX fan. That was my guy. Like, I don't
Uh,
have his like his grit though. Like, he has a street grit and an energy that I don't want to say I don't have it, but he has a lot of it.
out of all the things that the quote unquote bad stuff, if you want to call it bad stuff, that he was
Hmm.
doing, and to still push him, the pressure, right? To
Yeah.
push past all of that and still maintain where
Yes.
he was is like
No one
phenomenal.
prays harder than that dude. No one.
Mm-mm. He
That's what I
always
learned that day.
played, so it sounded so sincere,
Hmm.
so heartfelt, and you can tell that he was being vulnerable, you know.
Yeah,
And I think
definitely.
that was something
Definitely.
that we don't see a whole lot in people
We
in general, especially men.
we didn't know what it was.
No, not a
We
clue.
had no idea what it was. We were just like, we don't understand this dude, and that was it. We chose we chose not to dig any deeper. We just said we don't understand this dude, and rocked with his music. I remember the prayer thing more than anything. I mean, I also do remember like all my DMX CDs skipping because I played them so much too. But
Hmm.
I remember the prayer thing more than anything because I was like, I didn't get it at the time, but I kind of
Yeah,
like, like when you're 46, and that happened. I was 20 something, man. Like,
yeah.
then it started to make sense. Like, this dude, I mean, he was troubled then, and he was really, like, he was exercising his demons in his art
Hmm.
and in the way he lived.
What can you share with us as far as any advice for children like myself or like them who have lost their dad, and just life goes on?
I think that's just it, man. Life goes on. And but here's the thing though. Um like I hold on to, and I don't like I've had a couple of intense crying sessions about my dad passing, like, not not recently, like back when it happened. And the thing that hurt me the most about it was, like, I didn't get to say goodbye. That
Hmm.
was the worst part. And I think if I were to leave a message with DMX's children, it would be like, take solace in the fact that you did have a chance to make peace with him, and it may not have been the best of though it wasn't the best of circumstances at all, but you got a chance to do that, and that's something that's rare. You know,
Hmm.
we don't always, like, my dad went to sleep with heartburn and didn't wake
Oh
up.
wow. Mm.
So it's like, and and I kind of remember him telling me, like, yeah, man, I got a little heartburn. I'm like, oh, like, and then I get the call in the morning, like that's tough. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I said goodbye, I always tell them I love them when I hang up the phone with them, but it's it's like having a chance to say goodbye is different.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sort of eternal sense, like we won't get to speak again in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tough, I think, for kids to have to deal with. And I think I don't know, if I were to give them any advice, I would say life goes on. I won't tell them like stay positive, like that's crap. Like,
Yeah.
no, like grieve, like whatever you're feeling, like take the time to let that shit play out, especially for his sons. Like you don't have to, you know you, you don't have to be hard, you don't have to, be a rock,
Mm-hmm.
you know in order to be, in order to still be DMX's son. You need to, or anyone's son, you need to grieve. It takes a long time to heal from it.
I'm still healing from that, but
Hmm.
I have this thing where it's like, what are you really? What? Maybe I did not have my dad for 80 years, right? For me, it's more like
Hmm.
just a shadow or a missing piece or missing something that's over my
Yeah.
whole life. Like somebody not telling you something. Like,
Yeah.
but it would have been all the things that my dad would have told me. So I'm just
Hmm.
missing those components, like, even down to saying that you're beautiful. I didn't get that
Yeah.
growing up, and it may seem small, but that would have probably done tremendous things for my self-esteem coming
Mhm.
along through the, how middle school, high school
Yeah,
times can be.
for sure.
Um, and just having the protection of my dad, because what happens to me as an adult is oftentimes if I'm triggered, it's because I don't feel protected. Something
Hmm.
happens and I just feel out of sorts. And it's like many of the things I go through around safety and protection, I feel really stem from not having that growing up.
Yeah.
um, and being told, certain things about that. So we got to talk about this Derek Chauvin case. And not even the case, just the situation around
Yeah.
just racism in America and how it affects, in particular, Black men. But now I see
Mhm.
it's kind of spreading its wings. It's trying to. I put it that way.
Yeah, it's trying to get everybody.
Um, what do you, and I'm sure you and Naila have discussed this before because she's a bright young lady. Um, what advice are you giving her about how to move out here in these streets?
I tell her, keep your hands where they can see them. You know, I just tell her to be smart. I teach her, what I believe are the best practice to stay alive. And that doesn't mean that you don't get to feel bad about it. Doesn't mean you don't get to be angry about it. Doesn't mean you don't have to be fearful about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can be all those things. Like, they have weapons. They also need to have, they need to be equipped with the skills to really truly be able to handle themselves.
At this point in time, don't look forward to is teenage years when the driving starts and hopefully this stuff is not still happening, but that's really what kind of keeps me up at night as far as how do we navigate that, right?
Yeah.
So in our dream world, ideally, what kind of world do we want our boys to be in when they start maneuvering into the world without us?
In an ideal world, like the world that they're coming into, like when they become teenagers, man, I just need them to be seen as humans.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lot. Like, and it's not just our black boys. It's our girls too. Like, we're not seen as human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I may be seen as a human. Like, go to work, I pay taxes, but again, like I said, on a bad day, let me get stopped and watch the shit hit the fan. But I think if we start with that first, is that, they're
Mm-hmm.
just seen as humans first and treated with that kind of dignity and respect first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, that would be a good start.
Why are boys stronger than girls?
That's a good question. Well, um, what happens developmentally like if you want the real answer, developmentally, what happens is girls develop faster, so they get stronger first, but then boys get stronger, and it's because of this hormone called testosterone, and we produce more testosterone than women produce, and testosterone is the hormone that like makes your muscles big. Okay, and when you have a lot of it, you just get stronger. When you have more of it, you get stronger. So that is why boys are stronger than girls physically.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
We're done dadding for right now.
All right.
Thank you, Lateef. Have a good
You're
one.
welcome. Thanks. You guys have a good rest of your weekend.